My coverage of Computex 2023 is brought to you by Gigabyte, G-Skill, Thermaltake, and Cooler Master. I am now over at Hyte, and they have a suite that is completely lit by RGB lighting, which is why the lighting might be a little weird in this video, but we're going to try to maintain consistency. But it actually brings up a question. What do you do if you have too much RGB? Is that a thing? Some of you I know are like, yes, I don't like RGB, get rid of it. But what if you have too many components in your system that all need different types of RGB software? Hyte has a solution for that. So the software is called Nexus, and that's actually already out. There's actually already a version of Nexus out that you could download, you could start to use right now, especially if you have Hyte products that will help you adjust your RGB and do other things in your case. Typical control software like monitoring temperatures and fan RPMs and all that good stuff. This is Nexus Universal Hardware Control. So Hyte went out and they got a bunch of other components from competitors, shall we say, from other companies who make similar products to them, such as a Razer keyboard and mouse, a desk mat from some other company. I don't know what desk mat that is, but there's a Corsair all-in-one liquid cooler in there. You got some Team T-Force memory, you have ASUS hardware and the motherboard and the graphics card, and it's all being recognized and controlled by this one piece of software. But that's not all. You also have some Philips Hue light bulbs that are being controlled by the same software. They're lighting up the walls in the room. They even have like a party tunnel when you walk in that is completely lit by LEDs that makes it look like you're walking into a club. Presumably a K-pop club, because of course K-pop music videos have very bright, vivid colors, which is why they're using it to demonstrate this software. This is already part of the software, but it will allow you to take something that's playing on screen, or you can also just set up an animation, and you can take each individual component and set it to a part of that image, and then it will take the color from that image and light the component with that color. So in a world where sometimes you build a computer, or maybe even like if you get a computer from a system integrator and they have gone with a wide range of components in that computer, and suddenly you're like, oh no, I need to have 3 or 4 different pieces of software and they're all bloated and I don't like them. Hyte is now saying you can use our Nexus software, you can control all that stuff together. We already have initial support for some Corsair and Razer devices, and they're going to be continuing to add more pieces of hardware from other different vendors as we move forward. So check out the Nexus software, especially of course if you have a Hyte PC. You guys remember this LCD that they have in the corner of the Hyte Y60? Yeah, we showed this off at CES. It's just cool. I just wanted to show you. It's cool. Of course, software that can control other manufacturers' devices is useful, but Hyte also makes some stuff that it can control, and they're expanding on the capabilities with a couple products that they're showing off here. This is called the Nexus Portal. It has a single-core ARM 32-bit Cortex processor. It has thermal and acoustic sensing, which means if you're playing music, it can sense how loud that music is and automatically adjust like your fan RPMs to make sure that it's staying within an envelope, that it's not disturbing you as you listen to your K-pop, presumably. You have compatibility with these new devices that I'm about to show you right over here. They are super thick. And you can also use it to control legacy addressable RGB and PWM fans as well. Removing the housing, we can see a basic look at some of the connectivity inside. We have a fan splitter, and we have several USB Type-C ports in the bottom that you can daisy chain devices to. In terms of how many devices you can daisy chain off of one of these connectors, it's more of a wattage limit than it is like a specific device limit. So between 50 and 60 watts of power is what is available, and just for reference, like a typical fan is going to use maybe 3 to 5 watts. But Hyte said that if you have this tied in with the Nexus software, it'll tell you. It'll let you know if you have more capacity or if you're running out of juice and you need to switch to a different channel. But some fairly unique use cases for this, and one of the really nice things is daisy chaining. And I set up a little demo with one of these LED strips. The LED strip is plugged into the Nexus Portal over here. The LED strip then has another connector on the end, and then that is leading over here to this connector, and this is the connector that they're using for their new series of fans, which happen to be called THICC FT12. And they certainly are thick because they are wider than typical fans. We're looking at about 32mm width, whereas normal fans are about 25mm usually. But I thought it was very interesting that I could just take a connector coming off of the end of a LED strip and use it to power this fan, which is running at a fairly high RPM. These fans are engineering samples, by the way, which is why they are losing a little bit of the finish on the end. Don't worry, when they actually come to market, they will not be like that. Since we're in Taipei and it's kind of hot and muggy out, since there's a typhoon coming through, I just pointed this at my face for a little bit, and that felt really nice. But hey, I'm getting distracted. You might have noticed these little pogo pin connectors on the ends of the fans, and those mean that these fans, yes indeed, are also daisy chainable, and they are magnetic. So all you gotta do is line it up, they pump together. That gives you the connection both for data as well as power. That will allow the fans to report their RPMs back to the Nexus software. And the fans also have a built-in thermal probe, so you can use that to tell what your air temperature is, say at the intake of your computer or at the exhaust of your computer, which is useful information to know. And Hyte is also potentially planning on expanding the software as they continue to develop it to use that information that's being gathered by the thermal sensors to allow you to do fancy things with your computer, like automatic setup of fan curves and that sort of thing. But those fans are not even the thickest thing in this room. Oh no indeed. What that is? I guess it's the THICC Q60 right here, which is their new all-in-one liquid cooler, which is a 240 millimeter liquid cooler. However, it uses the THICC fans, and it also uses a much wider radiator itself. This is a 53 millimeter width radiator, so it gives you about 83-ish millimeters total width. So you're gonna wanna double check and make sure that this will fit in your case. If you're installing it in your case, Hyte is gonna make sure that it is compatible with their cases, of course. But thanks to the thickness and thanks to the performance of the new fans, they're saying that this is gonna easily compete with much larger radiators that are not as thick, 360 millimeter all-in-ones. And it's also got some nice features such as this LCD screen, which sits on the end. They have a demo case set up with that. Right now they're just showing Type A weather, which is apparently broken clouds. I guess the typhoon is at least giving us a short break. Of course, if you don't typically look into your computer case to check the weather, there's lots of other stuff that you can display there as well, whether you want it to be useful stuff like system information or just an animation or a video. If you're wondering why this screen is so big, well, they made it large so you could see it, even if your computer is not necessarily right next to you. And they also made it flexible, so depending on where your system is set up, you can rotate the screen towards you or towards where you typically sit, so you can actually make better use of it, since a lot of screens that go into cases then get tucked away off to the side, and how often are you actually going to look at it? Well, probably a little bit more often if it's actually facing you. One feature of the THICC Q60 that I really like is that they've taken all the cables that might typically come off of the pump block unit down here, fed them all up through the tubing, and they all come out right here in at least a nice grouped set of cables, so you can individually connect them up where they need to be in your case, such as your USB 2.0 for connection, SATA for power. And then this unit, which is a prototype, has two fan headers coming off of it, which is one for the pump and one to report your fan RPMs. You guys might be familiar with certain motherboards that get angry at you if it doesn't detect a fan spitting for your CPU cooler. So that's gonna prevent that from happening, and it's also gonna mean that while you're in post mode, the fans can still run off of the PWM signal that's delivered here while it is waiting for your operating system to load and the software to take over. We are expecting these products to launch around the September timeframe, so they are still in development. They should be coming a little bit later this year. We're looking at about a $300 MSRP for the THICC Q60, which again includes this nice large LCD screen. The THICC FT12s will be available in a 3-pack for about $80-ish. A single fan will be $30. And yes, they do have a standard fan header adapter for them so that you can still plug them in directly to your motherboard if you so desire. And finally, the Nexus Portal over here is going to be about $50. I did get a walkthrough of the software itself. This version that they have over here is the one that's still in development, where they're adding a lot of the new features that we've been discussing today. There is also the public version that is right over here, where you're showing off just some of the RGB capabilities, such as setting up an animation and then choosing the different grid zones, so you can specifically set which components are going to light up based on which areas of the screen or the animation or the video that you might be watching. They even have some cool animations like a bunch of balls that bounce around, and you can even see them bouncing sort of across the PC and across the keyboard, and pretty cool effects. Definitely one that I hadn't seen before. But there you have it, guys, a quick rundown of the products that Hyte is showing off here at Computex 2023. And let me know down in the comments if you saw anything in this video that has you excited, because I think Hyte will be checking there. So if you have feedback for them, they're very open to it, and they like to take fan feedback to help develop their products, make them more usable, and make them more versatile. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, though. A big thank you to my sponsors for Computex 2023, Cooler Master, Gigabyte, Thermaltake, and G-Skill. I have more videos coming at you real soon, so hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next one.